Okay, tell me about your life. What are some of your memories from your childhood? How old were we when we moved to California?
I was 12.
Where did you go to elementary school? You went to elementary school in Cleveland?
I went to Belvoir Elementary School.
How was that?
It was okay. Not that I remember it.
So what are your memories? So you lived in Cleveland till you were 12.
Yep. And then we moved in a 56 Chevy.
And what are your memories of Cleveland? Do you have any memories of Cleveland?
I remember when we used to sled down this hill. I think it was Superior. Barbara went there this past year.
And so what do you remember about sledding down the hill?
I don't know, snow.
Did you crash or?
No, didn't do any crashing.
Yeah.
What else did I do? I remember where Dad worked.
Where did he work in Cleveland?
He worked at the bomb company.
The what company?
Bomb company. B-A-U-M.
B-A-U-M. What was that?
That's where he owned a business.
He owned a business in Cleveland?
Yeah, it was called the bomb company.
Yeah, and how long? And so did you ever go into the business and see it?
Yeah, I remember. What do I remember? I remember having these little cones that it was incense.
Yeah.
I was big into incense. I didn't know what it was, but it smelled terrible.
Yeah.
Is that pharmaceutical?
I don't know if it was or not. I don't know what he sold.
Well,
Oh,
did
we
you have a
remember he
pharmacy
sold
before?
black beauty supplies.
Oh, there you go. And so when did you do you remember finding out or about moving to California? What do you remember about that?
Went to, he came to California to take the pharmacy board. No, he came to Arizona to take the pharmacy board. And then they went to California where they knew somebody named Al Levin and Dorothy Levin.
Well, how did you feel about moving from Cleveland to California?
Move.
Yeah, that was it. Didn't you have any feelings one way or the other?
It's interesting. I missed my graduation from Belvoir.
From your elementary school?
I remember missing that. But then the day that they did the graduation, it rained in Cleveland. So I couldn't do anything. I was on my way to California, and there were three of us. There was you, I think, Barbara and me, and we were in the back of a 56 Chevy.
Where was Mom?
Front seat.
I thought Mom wouldn't come initially.
No, she came.
Yeah.
We didn't. And then we stayed in. I think we stayed in Indiana. I think. I know we drove through Cincinnati, but I don't remember much of Cincinnati.
Yeah. How long did it take us to drive across country?
A week.
Yeah. Why did he take the board in Arizona if he was coming to California?
He wanted to get out of it. He wanted to get out of Cleveland.
Okay.
And Arizona was warm.
But he wasn't going to Arizona. He was going to California.
No, originally we were going to move to Arizona.
Oh, really?
That changes.
And what changed his mind?
When we came to
Yeah.
Came to California, and he met Al Levin, and Al Levin talked him into
Staying.
not so much staying, but to moving to California. So the hell with Arizona.
Oh, okay. So then where did we live when we moved to California?
We lived on a street called Kildee, and Al found it.
What city was it in?
Long Beach.
Did it have a banana tree?
May have had a banana tree.
I remember.
I don't remember.
That's all I remember about living in Long Beach was a banana tree.
I remember that the windows are very high.
Yeah.
And then I remember that the house was gray at the time.
Uh-huh. And how long did we live in Long Beach?
We lived there, I got there in June. I moved to Rossmore in, what was it? 1961. We moved like near Thanksgiving weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And then after Thanksgiving weekend, I went to, where did I go? Oh, I ended up going to Oak Junior High School.
How'd you like that?
It was okay.
Yeah.
One memory I remember is I remember the day that Kennedy was shot, which was in 1963, and Sharon Klein came into our biology class and said Kennedy was shot. That was all I remember.
Do you remember anything else about Oak Junior High?
It was a two-story building.
How'd you get to school? Did they drive you or did you take a bus?
No, I think we walked.
No, that's a long walk to Oak Junior High.
Not from where we lived.
Okay.
I don't remember taking. Maybe we did take it. I don't remember taking.
And then where'd you go to high school?
Western.
Okay, how'd you like Western High School?
Western was all right, but I sort of kept to myself.
Yeah?
I wasn't really interested in anything.
Yeah?
I was a member of the speech class.
Oh, you remember the speech club?
Speech club.
Yeah.
I think I was a member for a short time in the debate club.
Yeah.
And my good friends were Paul Blair, who's now passed. Paul Blair, Kenny Moss, and Danny Levin.
Okay.
And let's see. Kenny Moss moved to Canada.
To avoid the draft?
Well, to avoid the draft, and he's now living up there.
Right.
I think he's living in Vancouver.
That's correct.
Danny became an orthopedic surgeon. Or no, orthodontist.
Orthodontist.
Where he worked, I guess, on your mouth. Never worked on, I don't remember ever working on mine. And then his brother became a dentist.
Right. So what happened after Western High School? Where did you go to Cypress Junior College?
I went to Cypress Junior College for 2 years. And then at the time, I wanted to go to a 4-year institution. So I went, Paul Blair got me an application for the University of Arizona.
Right.
And I went to the University of Arizona from,
Did you visit the school before you went there? Or did you just
I just went there.
you just went? You'd never been there.
Well, I remember going there. I think Mom and Dad took me. They took me in a Buick. I think. And in the process, Dad some kid ran a stop sign or he didn't run a red light. He ran a stop sign. Just totaled the crap out of Dad's car.
On your way to Arizona?
At the university.
And so what happened?
I don't remember. Dad had to buy another car.
Wow.
I don't remember what he bought. But I remember all that stuff.
Okay, so you got to the University of Arizona. What'd you think of that?
I liked the school.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
What was your major at the University of Arizona?
You guys saw that.
I think I was
Theater arts major?
no, not at the beginning. I left myself. I was an undeclared major,
Right.
but I took biology, which I really liked. I took speech therapy, which I really liked. What else did I take? But the problem is, I changed majors because I'm trying to think. I don't know. I became a theater major in my second year,
Okay.
and then I went and I transferred. I was an art major. I didn't like being an art major, so I went into theater. I really liked theater. I remember I took an ROTC class at the University of Arizona, and I almost got Cadet of the Month, but some schmuck went out because he told the people that were doing the interview that he wanted to join the Air Force. Well, I didn't think the Air Force had anything in theater, so I blew it off.
Did you almost get? What? Did you get a draft number?
Drafted.
Did you
My
get?
draft number, they did, the first year they did the draft, I remember everybody staying up and waiting for the draft. And I think my number was 550 43 out of 560 something. And I remember somebody came up to me that morning and said, "Oh, Appel, you're 563. I said, "Well, I'll never be drafted." So I don't know, I sort of didn't really worry about it.
Did you have any friends that were drafted and went to Vietnam?
I don't remember any.
Okay.
Paul Blair went to a med school
Right.
down in Guadalajara. J. Kilborn, I don't know if he went into the service or not.
So then you graduate from the University of Arizona.
No, I didn't graduate from the University of Arizona. I went to Long Beach State.
Why'd you transfer?
I transferred because Long Beach State was cheaper than Arizona.
Okay.
I was paying out-of-state tuition.
So you transferred to Long Beach State.
And it took me, I graduated in 1972 and I was supposed to graduate in 1971. So it actually took me an extra year to graduate from Long Beach State. And then from Long Beach State I went to Wayne State University
In Detroit.
in Detroit, Michigan.
For what?
Theater.
And what
I wanted to
happened
be
there?
a sound technician.
Uh-huh.
I'll never forget when I got to Wayne State University studying, or not a sound technician, a lighting tech. When I got there, they didn't have any sound tech, so I became a sound technician. And the only thing I was doing when I was a sound technician was pushing a button. Everybody else was doing the fancy stuff with making sound effects and all this.
Uh-huh.
And I really wanted to do that. I guess I stayed there 6 months. After 6 months, I said, "The hell with it." Oh, and there was the guy that ran the program was Leonard Leone.
Yeah.
And after 6 months, I said, "I'm leaving."
Why did you decide to leave?
It's not what I wanted to do for a living.
You didn't want to be a sound tech.
No, I didn't want to push buttons with somebody else.
Okay, so then what'd you do?
So I became starstruck. And I worked I worked in theater at the time. I worked in, I worked for somebody named Melvin Peoples.
Mm-hmm.
Became friends with this black guy.
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, here's a name. You can go back and get a job as a lighting tech, but not so much a lighting tech, a follow spot operator." So I went back to California, and it took me 3 days. Oh, I actually did, I did an interview Kalamazoo, Michigan, looking for a stagehand technician, which I didn't get. And I went from Detroit to St. Louis, my Carnegie convertible. And then I went from St. Louis, I think I went to Albuquerque. Yeah, and then when I got to Albuquerque, I took 40 to, I took 40 to Flagstaff. When I got to Flagstaff, it was like snowing or something. So I went down to Phoenix, and I stayed at a place called, I went to eat at Pinnacle Peak, which is a place, I think, I don't know what the name of it. It was a restaurant, and the only thing they did was they used to cut off people's ties.
I remember that.
And they hung them up on the wall. Well, I didn't wear a tie, I just went down there for a steak. And I don't know where I stayed. I stayed in a hotel, and the next day I drove back to California.
And then what happens when you got back to California?
I went into well, I had to do something, so I went back and I majored in, mother wanted me to become an industrial art teacher, so I took classes in industrial arts. And I sort of hated that. I took industrial arts, I took photography, I took drafting, which I really liked. And then I taught a drafting class. I was a student teacher at Cypress Junior College. and I had an interview with my counselor, and the counselor said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Oh, I didn't say what. Excuse me. It wasn't what I wanted. It was." I'm trying to remember. Oh, I said I didn't like kids. So I said, "Well, then you can't be a
Teacher.
drafted teacher." So then, I stood around. I wanted to get a job as a follow spot operator. So I sat around all summer waiting for some idiot to call me, which never happened. That was that. I'm trying to think.
And how did you end up working at the shipyard?
I don't know. I needed a job. I found a job as a reprographics technician. So what I did was I was running Xeroxes and I hated the job. Mother called me up and she said, "Oh, there are jobs at the Long Beach Naval Shipyard. They're paying like $12 an hour." I figured, "Oh, that was good." So I called somebody. I don't remember who it was. Oh, it was a guy in Santa Ana who was giving classes to be a welder. So I called him and he said, "Don't come here, go to Cypress Junior, or not Cypress, go to Cerritos Junior College." So I went to Cerritos Junior College and I signed up for a class and I started with oxyacetylene, which I hated. And then they got me into, what did they get me into? Well, they got me into stick. And at the time I was shaky.
Yeah.
You know. And then there was a job on the bulletin board that says apprentices, $10 an hour. So I applied to Long Beach Naval Shipyard. And everything's history. Oh, and then I got in, but I told them I wanted to be an electrician. But I ended up being a welder. Oh, I told him I only wanted one job. I wanted to be a welder. God knows why. So I became a welder.
Okay, now you're a welder. What happens after that?
So I took the welding class and I was like #1 in my class. So I didn't have to take like physics and I didn't have to take this and I didn't have to take that. So I sort of scored out of all that stuff. I became a welder.
At the Navy shipyard.
At the Long Beach Naval Shipyard.
And how'd you like that?
I liked the job.
Yeah.
It was a job.
Uh-huh. What did you weld?
I welded steel.
I mean, what did you weld? Did you weld boats?
Well, they weren't boats, they were ships.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to think what I...
Did any ships that you weld sink?
No. Although my cousin Rick said, "Whoa, you're welding on the Jersey, and I'll bet you all those nuts and bolts that you welded came loose." I said, "Nope."
You didn't weld the Titanic?
I didn't weld the Titanic, was underwater. So I welded on the Jersey, and I welded on the Missouri, and I welded on the USS Fox. I welded on the Gridley. I welded a lot of ships, and then in 1989, it's goodbye.
You said what?
They said goodbye.
How long were you there before they said goodbye?
I think I was there from 81 to 89.
So 8 years?
About 8 or 9 years.
And why did they say goodbye?
They were having a reduction in force, and I was the last one to let go.
Really?
Yeah, they had one guy who thought he was going to be... They did it... I don't know.
Based on seniority?
I think they know. I just think they didn't like me.
But the shipyard was closed.
Yeah, well, the shipyard
military.
closed like 3 years after I was laid off, so...
So it was inevitable.
Inevitable that I was going to be laid off, but I got laid off. And I went to my accountant and I says, "Well, what do I do?" And at the time I was making little people out of nuts and bolts. I really wasn't making people. I was making animals. And the first thing I made was an anteater. still have that. To
Yeah,
this day.
so you went, so then what happened?
I went and I went into, I became, I don't know, I started my own business.
Why did you not choose to go to another federal job?
I actually was given an offer to go to a federal job, China Lake, but I didn't think I was good enough to weld, so.
Did anyone else tell you couldn't get the job?
No, I just didn't feel inside me that I was good enough to weld.
Why was, you were welding for 8 years, why weren't you good enough to weld?
I don't think I was good enough, so I just didn't take the job.
And that's at China Lake?
China Lake.
Where's that?
I don't know. It's way up in the mountains.
Uh-huh. So you started your business, and so how did your business take off? You started doing shows, what happened?
I started doing art shows. I just bought a tent and I did the shows.
What was the first show, do you remember?
No. I did Hermosa Beach. I did Hermosa Beach. That's where I met Gary Gall. And then I did a lot of West Coast artist shows with Rhonda Mills. I think she's gone. I remember I did shows with Irwin Brown.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember a lot of people I did shows with.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did. I had a good time.
Uh-huh.
I was making money, sort of.
What was the key to your success making bolt people? Why do you think that people liked them?
Because they were different.
Yeah.
I don't know, but everybody's making them now, so.
But at the time, it was an original idea.
Yeah, it was an original.
How'd you come up with that idea?
I don't know if I should put this on camera. I was at the shipyard and was taking a welding test one day, and this guy comes up and he says, "Whoa, what do you think of this?" And I looked at this little person made out of nuts and bolts, and the head was too big or too small. I figured, whoa, I can do that. So I started making bolt people.
Wow. So somebody came up and you saw what they had done and you just thought you could do a better job.
I could do a better, and I did a better job.
Wow.
I've been at it ever since 1989.
So 30 years. You've been at it over 30 years.
That's right.
Wow. This is your 31st year of the Apple's Bolt People.
Sure is. And then I had my name trademarked, since I didn't want anybody stealing my name.
Uh-huh.
It cost me a pretty penny. And now, I'm to the point where I guess I want to retire. And there is somebody on Etsy making my bolt people.
Oh, really? Is it very similar to yours, or is it any difference?
No, it looks exactly. He does a powder coating job. And then a lot of people tried to copy me, but I don't know. They used to send cease and desist letters, so they don't do them anymore.
Talk about all the places you've been to with your art.
Oh, and then I've been to, I did a show in Pennsylvania. I did a wholesale show. And then I did, I don't know, I traveled all over the place. I went to Mexico.
You used to have your show in Mexico?
New Mexico.
Oh.
I did the Balloon Festival for a number of years.
How was that?
It was a good show.
What was your best show? What would you say was your best show year in and year out?
My best show was Tempe, Arizona.
And when was that?
Oh, that started in like 1989, or 1989 to 2 years ago, last year.
Which was 2018.
2018, and then
what-
all of a sudden I got rejected.
What time was that show? What time of the year?
In December, it was during Christmas.
So why do you think that was such a good show?
It was a good show because everybody needed Christmas presents.
And so you're kind of retired, semi-retired?
I'm semi-retired. I do make bolt people. I'm still in business. I don't make as much as I used to make.
So do you miss going to the shows?
A little bit, not much.
Yeah?
I mean, bad. And then Tempe started to treat us like dirt.
Yeah.
So I figured the heck with it. And I would love to tell the lady who runs the show where to go.
You can do that right here. This is your
I'm
opportunity.
sure.
And we'll mail this to her. Here it is. Let it off your
Middle
chest,
finger.
baby.
I
Say
mean-
what's on your mind.
Kate was a bitch.
Kate,
And
you're
it's
a bitch.
interesting because Judy Lazar would like to do that, but she won't. You can't do it because you want to get it the following year.
But you're not doing it anymore. So you're free to say whatever you want. So why is Kate a bitch?
It's just the way she treated us.
Yeah, what did she do that you didn't like? How
I
did
didn't
she-
like being rejected from the show.
Okay. So the fact that you don't like her simply because she rejected you, or is there anything she did during the show that pissed you off?
She just treated me like dirt. I didn't like it.
Well, what did she do to treat you like dirt? That's kind of a broad statement.
I don't care. It could be broad as it was. That was it. That's it. So now I don't do tempt Pete. I was tempted to walk the show this fall, but then I figured, oh, hell with it. I got busy.
Who compliments you nowadays with your artwork?
All my customers, they love my work. They think I'm great.
That's good.
And how do they find you?
They find me on the internet. Everything now is on the internet. And I have two stores. I have one in Florida, which is, I forgot the name of it. And I have one that's out in Ivins, Utah, which I can't stand the woman. She orders 1 or 2 pieces, and the last order she wanted to order 2, and I said, nope, you gotta order 6. So she orders 6.
What are
Uh-huh.
some creative pieces you were asked to make recently that you've never done before?
Recently, I've been doing menorahs for the longest time.
Right.
I don't know. I did an airplane mechanic. That was different.
What's your favorite piece that you've made in 31 years?
Well, my favorite piece is my aquarium. Love that piece.
You made an aquarium?
Yeah, I still have it.
An aquarium with fish?
No fish.
No fish.
Fish were made out of metal.
Wow. Why is that your favorite piece?
I don't know. I just like the piece. I like making scuba divers.
You do well with scuba divers. What's probably your most popular piece? I mean, what piece have you sold the most?
No idea.
I mean,
They all
well, what
sell.
seems to be popular? Runners, scuba divers.
Scuba divers not lately. I mean, runners are popular. I do a big job that I started years ago. I did something for the Whiskey Row Marathon. I did.
Which is, talk about what that is.
What is that?
It's a race that they do in May, I think. And where the people.
In what city?
Oh, in Prescott, where I live in Prescott, Arizona.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, and then I built a shop.
So you do pieces for this race they run in May in Prescott?
Yes.
And how many pieces do you do for their race?
Let's see. Now I have to do 3, 6. I have to do 12. I have to do 3 big ones. No, 6 big ones, and then I do 12 or 6 big ones and 6 small ones.
And what do they do with the pieces that you make?
Give them away as trophies.
So the trophies for that race are your pieces.
Well, except for first place. In first place, they give away a boot, which I think is stupid. But
A what?
a boot.
Like a
It's the
boot?
Whiskey Row Marathon. It's
Oh.
a boot.
Oh, but everybody else that finishes,
Gets one.
well,
of my
gets one of your pieces.
It's
Wow.
interesting. I don't know, it was last year or the year before. Somebody came up to me. I think it was last year. We went to a conference, senior citizen, and this nurse came up to me, and her daughter had won one of my pieces.
Wow.
That really was that was good. Mm-hmm. And I get a shirt every year from the thing, and we get free membership for me and Barbara
To the Y?
to the Y.
And so you make pieces for the Y?
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's what the Whiskey Row Marathon. It's through
The YMCA?
yeah, it's through the
Oh, I didn't know
YMCA. But a couple of years ago, I made trophies, and I was still working, and I made pickleball trophies.
Oh, wow.
The pickleball trophies came out sweet. And then Damon asked me what I wanted as payment. I said, I don't want any money. I just want membership to the Y. So we got membership for a year, and then I started making runners, and the runners, all of a sudden, they wanted to know what I wanted for payment. So I said I want a free membership for my wife. So Barbara and I go to the Y for free.
Okay, we're videotaping now. We just ate at Sherman's.
Ugh.
Everybody agreed it was a terrible, terrible meal, and we gave it 1 star on Yelp. And they'll never find us, except I inadvertently put Janet Bardella in the review. With her email, cell phone, and
Contact
Instagram name. Okay, so tell us how you guys met.
Okay, it's January 17th, and it's 2020, and we met in 1989. And
1989?
1989.
Wow.
In 1992,
Where were you living at the time?
Wait, we gotta keep going.
Where were you living at the time in 1989, Barbara?
I was living in a condo that I purchased that was next door to where I worked, which was the VA hospital on Wadsworth and Wilshire Boulevard.
And then, Stephen, where were you living?
I was living at,
San Antonio?
no, I was living in Lakewood, California.
So what about, you guys were pretty far apart.
About 35 miles. apart.
35
I
miles?
believe so. Geographically, quite distant.
Okay, so then how did you meet?
It was a club called
Sierra Club.
Great Expectations and Sierra Club. So,
The same club?
2 different clubs.
Oh, you met on Great Expectations, or you met on
I met
Sierra Club?
Through Great Expectations.
But then we found out that we were both Sierra Club members. So
Wow, so I was doing a hike on, I guess it was
Santa Monica,
Santa
close to where I
Monica.
lived.
Boulevard, and Barbara when we talked, I was supposed to call Barbara, and she beat me to it, so she called me like on a Monday or something, and we decided to meet at a walk, a spaghetti walk.
That's what the Sierra Club did. Instead of going to the mountains,
20s and
you'd
30s.
walk up and down the sidewalk of Santa Monica, and then you'd meet at a restaurant.
A restaurant.
My kind of hiking.
So that's how you met on walking up and down the boulevard?
Sierra Club hike.
Well, I went on a Sierra Club hike, and
We started in one
I was
place.
supposed to lead, and Mark Musman was supposed to be in the back. But it so happens that Barbara told me she was a slow walker.
Right, so you moved to the back?
So I moved to the back, and Barbara moved to the front.
So the first time you ever met Barbara face to face was on a Sierra Club
Sierra
walk.
Club.
In Santa Monica.
And how did you recognize him?
Because he was one of the leaders of the hike. And I had seen his photo. When you go to Great Expectations, the photo is there, and there is a video of the person that you
So
meet.
how did the hike go?
Great.
We met each other. We talked afterwards. for
Barbara was
quite
in
an
the
hour.
front, and I was in the back.
But afterwards,
I thought you were in the back. You're a slow walker.
She didn't slow
We
walk this.
rotated.
And you didn't take that as a hint? So Stephen went to accommodate you and moved to the back. But
No,
you actually misled him by telling him you were a slow walker when you were a fast walker.
she moved to the front, and then she sat next to this chunky guy, I don't know his name. And I sort of was jealous
Of the chunky guy?
of the chunky guy. Well,
Yeah.
I figured this guy was trying to hit on Barbara, which I guess he was. So on the way back,
Do you remember this, Barbara? Do you remember the chunky guy?
I do.
No, I remember this one. I married this one. So this is
So it just so happens that we walked back, and the 2 of us walked back, and we got back to the car.
we stayed for an hour
We
or two
stayed
and
for
just
an hour.
talked.
We just talked.
Just the 2 of you?
Yeah. To get to
And
know
then
each
what
other.
I did was I knew I was doing. Oh, I know the walk was on a Thursday, and I was doing Hermosa Beach. So I asked Barbara to come down and visit with me.
Yeah.
So we went down. She met me down at Hermosa, and when she was supposed to be there at 4 o'clock, she shows up at 5.
Do you remember this, Barbara?
I remember going to an art show, which I had not attended before, and it was difficult to park. It was
got
very
lost.
crowded. I had never been there. I had to find his booth. So it was a challenge.
And then the first thing she did was, a woman that I don't even know, walks into my booth and asked me if she could borrow $40.
$40?
$40 for a jacket. So I figured out what the heck. So I gave her $40.
Is
It
that
was
true,
a
Barbara?
test. I wanted to see if he was a generous person or not. I mean, this was
So you
like,
gave her $40.
I gave her $40.
And
She
did you
bought
buy
a
a jacket? Do you still have the jacket?
no. It was
Okay.
popular blue jean
Jean
style
jacket.
with little lace and little things. That was very popular at that time.
Now, if I had known that she was going to buy something, she could have got a discount because usually that's what happens. When other artists know other artists, they give them a discount. Well,
So you guys, then, so your second date was
Jim would have failed that test.
almost, I'd have given you a credit card. And the jacket would have cost me
Yeah.
$140 because she'd have bought a hat, some shoes.
so anyway, we ended up staying in Hermosa until like 12 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
Really?
I had to be back the next day at 7
To sell artwork.
to sell artwork.
And we were just chatting each other up and talking and getting to know each other to see if the
Wow.
dates
So
would
then
go
what did
on.
you do?
Nothing. I showed up at the art show.
You drove home and then got up
Drove home and I got back
by 7 o'clock.
by 7.
Wow.
I was exhausted.
And that was the first time you'd seen his nuts and bolts?
Yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh. What was your first impression?
Creative,
Okay.
entrepreneurial.
So what happened after Hermosa?
I don't remember.
You had to
There was
keep
a-
going out with him because you owed him $40.
So we went out.
Did she ever pay you back?
I don't think so. I don't remember.
You don't remember that music.
That's good.
Yeah.
Barbara's like, thank God.
Interest on that would have been.
Yeah, really.
So anyway,
Gonna
we
bite.
dated for quite a while,
Couple of years.
and I was still at the shipyard. I think
No, you weren't.
I wasn't.
No.
Well, anyway, I had left the shipyard, and I was doing shows all over the place. So I asked her on one of my dates to go up to San Francisco with me. So she went up to San Francisco and stayed with me in San Francisco.
Well, he did another art show. So
I did another art
this was
show.
our dating period for a couple of years. going
Yeah,
to art
so you-
shows.
What's interesting is the woman I stayed with, I didn't tell her I was bringing a friend.
So you invited her to go to San Francisco and you were staying with another woman.
Yeah. I never told
Wow.
her. I never told this.
Kind of a
woman.
racy
So,
relationship
well-
at this point.
The other woman was
The
out
other
of
woman
town.
was out of town, so it really didn't matter.
Oh, okay, so she wasn't even there.
No. So
Okay.
then we drove. Oh, I know. I told Barbara to call in sick. So Barbara says, "Well, I don't like calling in sick."
didn't like to do that with
So
my
anyway,
job.
it was her job, so she called in sick. And,
Leading me astray, leading me down a
Yeah, okay, so.
dangerous
So we
path.
kept us up, and I don't know. Then 1992. When did we move to Prescott?
1991.
So you started dating in '89?
And in 1991, we were getting more serious.
Yeah.
And we were looking in Los Angeles to see if there was a place that we could live where we wouldn't both be on 35
other.
miles away from each other.
Yeah.
But we didn't find anything that we really liked.
Where were you looking?
Well, we looked in Culver City. We found a place there, but Mom and Dad didn't like the fact that I wanted to put my shop inside the condo. I was going to put it in the garage. They didn't like that, so that was out.
Free city regulation possible,
Yeah,
okay.
right. So, I don't know.
So we were kind of getting stuck and finding things that were in our price range and that were close to my job so that I could keep working.
Right.
And so that he could drive to where he was welding.
So
So we were kinda stuck.
We were stuck, and then I did a show in Tempe, Arizona, and Barbara did an AIDS convention. And while she was at the AIDS convention,
Where was the convention?
It was in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And it was
a
related
stunt.
to my VA career.
I
Yeah.
think it was a
Over coffee, in between the lectures, I found out there was a job in a place called Prescott, Arizona, at the VA. And the job was for a specialty that I had in infection control. So I was given phone numbers and contact information. I told Steve about it, and I said, why don't we go for a job interview and see what this is like, and see what this town is like. I'd often heard very positive things about Prescott, Arizona. So after the art show was over, when we went home, I made plans to interview for the job. So we came back to Arizona and interviewed for the job.
I had to push her. She hemmed and hawed and hemmed and hawed. I said, just apply and we'll see what happens. So eventually she applied for the job.
Had you guys ever been to Prescott before?
No.
Neither of us.
We were supposed to go to Prescott several times because we went camping at the Grand Canyon with the Kalishes. And every time we wanted to come home, we were going to come home through Prescott. And we never did it. So we actually came up to Prescott on our own.
Did you drive up for the interview?
No.
We flew to,
Phoenix?
yeah, rented a car.
And we knew somebody in Phoenix, so we stayed with them for several days.
And then drove up for the job interview, and that was the first time you'd ever been to Prescott.
We drove up for the job interview, and she went on the job interview, and she was offered the job that day.
It was December of 1991.
They offered you the job the same day?
Yes.
Same day.
Really?
No one's ever offered
Did you
the job.
expect that?
Yes.
No.
Because
You
I'm
did?
in a field that's hard, at that time it was very hard to find people who had the qualifications. Plus I
Uh-huh.
was just a transfer. With
So like it right in the middle of the, how long had the job interview been going on?
The job had been empty for a while and they were getting
Desperate.
desperate and they needed to fill it.
And so
But-
how long into the interview was it before they offered you the job?
Right away.
I remember pretty soon,
Yeah.
pretty quick.
And then
So what'd you say when they offered you the job?
she didn't want the job because they offered her $10,000 less than she was making in Los Angeles.
Right.
And then they said, well, let's see how we can sweeten the deal. We can offer you housing on the grounds of the VA. So that was a sweet deal for us coming from a...
Free?
No, we paid,
No, we
but it
still
was a very
paid.
nominal rent. And it
Okay.
included the utilities, and it was walking distance to the job.
Oh, that's
She
not
never
bad.
did. She
Yeah.
always drove.
Yeah.
So they threw that in. And another thing they threw in is, I think they paid for some gas money. So they tried to throw in a few things to make it good.
And eventually you guys worked out a deal when you took the
Right.
job?
So I took the job, even knowing that it was less
She didn't-
expensive, because, I mean, less salary, but we found out that the houses were less expensive. in
So
Prescott.
how long did you live in this house on the,
On the grounds,
Way
1
before
year.
it goes. I didn't want to go.
yeah,
I didn't want to leave Mom and Dad.
yeah,
So what Dad did was on New Year's Day, he took me and he met me at Denny's at, I think it was at Los Alamitos and, what was it, Los Alamitos, whatever the cross street was. And he took me in, and he took me inside and he says, let's talk. So we talked and he says, you have to leave now. You have to go back and you have to make a life for yourself. So you have to
Grow up.
grow up. He says, I want you out of the house. So,
you were living at home?
well,
I thought you were living in Lakewood.
I was, but he took me, it doesn't matter. I wasn't living at home.
Okay,
You're in an apartment.
I had a condo in
He
Lakewood,
owned his
California.
I remember it was
owned
on
my
like San Antonio or something.
What?
It was on San Antonio Street.
Lincoln. No.
No, it
No.
was Centralia. It was Centralia and
It was called Lakewood
Lakeshore
Shores.
Drive.
Lakewood Shores.
Lakewood Shores.
Did you own it or
Oh, it
did
was
you rent it?
Bloomfield and
He owned it. He owned it.
You owned something.
I did.
Yeah.
Anyway, he said, go.
Okay, so then you went.
So then what I did was, a day later, I made a reservation and I flew out Southwest, I think it was Southwest or one of those, excuse me, airlines. So I flew up to Prescott and I looked for a shop. I wasn't gonna go anywhere unless I had a shop. And I had a shop in Compton. It was, anyway, I flew up and I spent the week looking at houses. We looked at houses when we were interviewed the job,
Yeah.
and then Barbara qualified for houses in the $300,000-$400,000 range, which I thought was a little high. And
I thought you were living on the base for a year. Was this after a year on the base?
No, this is before we moved.
Okay. So you're looking for
He flew by
a
himself.
I
shop.
flew up here and I found a shop in Prescott, Arizona
That he could rent for
that
the
I could
building.
rent. So
Uh-huh.
I had a place to put my shop.
Okay, right.
And then I proceeded to come up when I think it was during Fountain Hills. I drove up on it I drove up in my van, some van. I pulled a trailer and I had a welding machine in the back of it. And we put the welding machine in the shop that we found. I think the shop is it's right in back of Washington School. But that was it. So we ended up moving.
But
Wow.
both of us rented our condos. So if life in Prescott didn't work, we could go back to California.
How long did you rent your condo before you sold it?
Well, I rented mine 2 years. The first year, I got a tenant that I figured was going to last a long time. And then all of a sudden, his girlfriend got pregnant. Well, they informed me they had to move. So I said, well, as long as you're moving, you have to find a tenant for me. So he turned around and he found a tenant. It was a friend of his. And they moved in, I don't know, I guess it was 93, 94. And he moved in, and a year later, he had to move out because his girlfriend was pregnant. I had the fertilest condo in Southern California.
And then you sold it?
Well, we didn't sell it yet. But then my next door neighbor, who owned he didn't own a condo, he was renting a condo, he said that the condo was up for rent. So he immediately went and called me and he said, don't rent it to anybody else, I'll rent it. So he rented it, and 6 months later he calls me up and he says, Steve, I'm moving to Palm Springs to be with my parents. What am I going to do? So then I put it up for sale. I mean, I took a little bit of a loss, but condo was gone.
And so well, how what was your initial reaction to living in Prescott? Did you like it, dislike it? What was it?
We could see the stars at night.
Yeah.
I liked that a lot. It was very quiet. We could hear church bells from downtown.
Uh-huh.
And it had a very small town feeling.
Uh-huh.
And I like that.
And has it grown a lot?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Yes. We've been there 27 years and it's grown a lot. But it's still a lot more small hometown feeling than LA is.
So you didn't know anybody when you moved there?
Oh, we did know somebody. We knew this black couple that lived up on the hill. Verna something.
Well,
There is somebody
I
in
met
her.
many people through my job.
Uh-huh.
So when we moved, we would socialize with people through the work.
Uh-huh.
Through my work.
So did you like the job there?
Oh, it was similar to what I had done in Los Angeles. It
Yeah.
was the same. And I had all the responsibility. I wasn't part of a team of 5 like I was in Los Angeles.
Uh-huh.
I was the head honcho for the whole department.
So you were in charge of the entire department?
Yes.
Did you have anybody working for you?
No, I was a peer of other people.
Oh,
So I
okay.
took on other duties
Uh-huh.
also. But it was satisfying to be in a smaller place in some ways and to have more responsibility. I did more aspects of the job in Prescott than I did in Los Angeles because there were so many specialists. Other people did things. In Prescott, I had to do it all.
Where'd you guys go for your honeymoon?
We went in northern Arizona.
Oh, we went to Sedona.
Yeah, we did the
Pink Jeep tour.
big Jeep tour, and then we also did a train trip along the Verde River.
Uh-huh.
So those were close trips that we could do from our home.
What's your favorite vacation that you guys have taken together?
Probably it would be going to dance festivals.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, that's
I remember that. You guys used to dance like crazy.
Yeah, we got into contra dancing, and we'd go to these festivals, and they would last for 3 to 4 days. So we'd drive, and we'd be up until late at night. And
How long did you do that for?
a lot of years, probably 15
You don't
years.
do that anymore?
We danced in our own town
Uh-huh.
at the local congregational church. There's a contra dance once
Yeah.
a month. And I
Oh.
also do English country dance at least twice a month.
Oh, okay.
So it's just, that's what we do for dancing.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we don't dance that much. We don't dance that much because our
Thank you.
legs bothered us, our back bothered us. So we sort of got out of it. We've been out of it for a number of years, but talking about going back.
Oh, you're going to get back into the dance scene?
Yeah. And we've met a lot of people through the dance.
Do you stay in touch with all those people?
Yeah, we see them. They come to Prescott and they'll perform on
everybody.
the stage.
Not everybody.
The bands will still come in and perform. And we get invited. They always tell us when the next dance is in Phoenix or Flagstaff or in California.
So when's the next, so you're thinking of getting back into the dance scene. When would that happen? Have you picked a particular dance to make your grand entrance back into the dance
There's a
scene?
dance at the end of April
In Phoenix.
in Phoenix.
Yeah.
But our dance moved from
Spring
Used-
Fling, I think it's
yeah.
called, something like that.
Yeah, it's called Spring Fling, and now that the Phoenix group has taken over. It used to be called May Madness, but now it's called Spring Fling. We ran May Madness for the longest time.
You guys, the two of you?
With
Not
a whole
with
team of people.
team of people.
Yeah.
And then,
So that was a hobby we got into. Like, we just really fell into it very deep in terms of renting the hall, hiring the bands, organizing the budget to put on a festival. We had caterers that would come in and do the food, and cleaning up the hall, decorating the hall, and it was fun.
So when did you retire, Barbara?
It's right now. It's 2020. I retired in October of 2016.
Oh, wow. You've been retired over 3 years? How do you like retirement?
I like it. I like the ability to be free with my time, to do what I want, to go to the gym, to get into healthy activities, and to use skills that I learned in the VA to volunteer with my church.
So what do you do with your, now that
I'm
you're
on
retired?
the committee of ministry, and I've been on the personnel committee, and I sing in the choir. I have time for all these things now. And when I'm in a book club, I'm able to read the books.
What's your latest book that you've read?
Well, the meeting is going to be at my house on Tuesday night coming up, and it's by James Crumley, and it's called The Last Good Kiss, and it's considered one of the best crime novels in
Really?
America.
Did you like it?
No, I didn't like the characters. But the writing was pretty good, but it's not the type of people or situations that I would normally like to read about.
What's your favorite book that you've read for this book club?
Oh, there's many books. The Crawdads, Where the Crawdads Sing, was very good. That was about South Carolina and the coast off the Atlantic Ocean.
oh, and we've become very active in Granite Peak.
What's that?
That's Barbara's church.
Oh, didn't you just pick a new minister for your church, Barbara?
Yes, I was on the committee to do that. It's Unitarian Universalist.
And how long? How's that going?
It's going well. We like her, and we like her partner. Her
Yeah.
partner is the choir director, and they're very talented. They've written a lot of music together and published music together, and we're going to have a music festival in the spring with other choirs in town where their music will be featured.
And are you in the choir at the church?
Yes.
Wow, do you get any solos?
No, I'm part of the chorus in the background.
It's interesting how Barbara became involved with Granite Peak. Some friends of ours took her to one of our church service, and all of a sudden, bingo. there.
Oh, people who we met through contra dancing were actually the ones who said, why don't you give Unitarianism a try? I think it might be a good fit for you. And they were right. They knew us through contra dancing. They kind of knew our values and the way we think and the kind of people we like to hang out with. And so when we started going to the Unitarian congregation, we found a lot of people that we knew from contra dancing and who shared values.
Do you see people around the town? Is it small enough where you recognize people like you're walking down the street or at the store?
It used to be, not so much anymore.
Really?
Oh, it is. Even when we flew from LA to Prescott and Prescott to LA, there's people on the small plane that you know.
You knew?
Oh, yeah. Or they know people. Or you get to the airport and it's like, oh, yeah, I know these people.
Wow.
So it's a good feeling. It's to be part of something that you're connected to.
So when's your next, do you have any big trips in the future?
I will be going to Florida sometime in the next few months when my two nephews graduate, one with a master's degree and one with a bachelor's degree.
Uh-huh.
So I want to go to the University of Florida to see my nephew graduate and
Yeah.
to New College to see my other nephew graduate.
Uh-huh, so that's your next big trip?
That's my trip. I don't know the dates yet, but it's going to be soon.
Like in May?
May, yeah, June.
Anything after that?
Not that I know of yet.
Okay. Anything you want to add?
No, tired.
Okay.
We love our brother-in-law and his wife because they've been so good to us over the years. They helped create our wedding. Janet lent me the dress to wear.
Oh,
and
really? You wore Janet's
I
dress?
did. She was
Where's that dress?
given back to Janet for the next family.
You still have it? Wow.
Yeah. And then Jim was able, and Janet, to use the video equipment to
Right.
help make a video of our wedding.
Right, I remember that.
Pictures
And Barbara and Gary put the wedding on.
Yeah.
in their backyard. So
Yeah, I remember that.
we were very grateful for all the
Okay.
support we got. And
All right.
And we've been together now for
28 years.
28 years.
So what is your plan for your 30th wedding anniversary? Do you have anything?
I gotta get that far.
Your goal is to live that long.
There's the plan.
That's the first goal, step one.
This past year I had major surgery.
You've recovered from that?
Yes, I used to have a motor tremor, and now I'm controlled. My tremors are now controlled, and I don't shake anymore.
So were you happy that you went through that?
Yes and no. I'm tired all the time, but I think that's got to do with my CPAP.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm happy.
Initially, you weren't, after you had the surgery, you weren't too thrilled, were you?
No.
But that's what, so it took a while to kick in.
It took a while, but now that I'm under control,
Uh-huh.
but I'm pretty well.
Before you couldn't sign a check, and now
No,
you
I
can,
couldn't sign a check. I couldn't write my name.
and now you can.
Yeah, I did all my. Yeah, right. I was like, I don't know. That's hot.
You're gonna burn it to
Like
death.
this all the time.
Yeah, and now let's see.
No, I'm not.
Good.
I'm steady as a. Well, I'm not steady.
No, you're not bad. You're better.
I'm better.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay.